Hello again. Apologies for not having posted earlier. Life tried to eat me. Long story short. I have my notes. I have various bits of work. I have made progress on some things. I have actually a fully finished object, and I have inadvertently started a few more projects. Things have been a bit weird here, and I'll be looking down at my notes. I have discovered that I have a tendency to be very scatterbrained, even if I think that I have prepared myself before I start recording. Half of the things that I want to say, they just disappear. So first of all, I want to thank you all who have subscribed and who have watched and commented on my previous videos. Thank you very much. I have 187 subscribers and I am overawed and humbled, and I hope that I can continue to make more videos that you all enjoy watching. I will be starting with the stitchy stuff, and then I will be doing trying to finish off the Know Your Needleworker tag. I hope to be able to put some video footage of a trip I made, parts of a trip I made to Copenhagen about a week ago. And there will probably be some random ramblings and stuff going on, but anyway, I have not worked at all on the two cranes, the full coverage piece thing. I'm still sort of trying to make up my mind whether or not I should abandon it before I waste more time on it, or whether I should give it a wee bit more. So that's sort of on hiatus. I have made progress on my nativity scene, this one. I am not so well prepared that I have been able to find a picture of what it looked like the last time you saw, but I have made quite a good deal of progress. I have worked more up in the sky and the trees, and I have made it all the way down to the begin making animals. And had fun with it, and then I needed a break and started working on other things, and it hasn't seen any action for several weeks now, but I think I'm going to be in the mood for working on it again. The toucans, I have made rather good progress. Again, no before picture, but this is the current status. So I have started redoing some of the very iffy stitches made over 30 years ago. I have started on working some of those. I have finished bits and pieces here, so I have actually pulled out a couple of the gridding threads up here. I have also pulled a few from either side. I have started filling in the white in this head, and I have managed to get quite a lot done on this one, and there is still some flowers and leaves and stuff to go here, and then there are small random spots, and most of this area is going to also just be fill in white. So this is coming along really well, and I think actually one reason why I suddenly stopped was that I began to realize just how close I am to finishing it. And there's this weird thing that goes on with me when I'm almost done with a project, then suddenly it isn't so urgent anymore. And also because there are so many emotions tangled up in this. So I doubt that I will have it finished by the next video I post, but I hope that maybe in July. I have also already started looking into getting it framed, and we did have someone on the island who used to frame, but she doesn't do that anymore, and I am following up on a couple of other possibilities, but they will all involve heading onto the ferry and off on the mainland. I am pretty sure that I don't want to try framing this myself. I think this piece is so important that I want to spend the extra money on having it done really, really well. And then my fully finished object, which you won't have seen before. Let's see if we can get this. This is a Mill Hill kit. It was actually supposed to be made into a brooch, but I'm not going to wear it, and so I decided to just make it into a small Halloween ornament. So I did the last of the sewing and cut it out and made the hanger, and bingo, I have a fully finished object. Yay! Those are the really actually there is one more really good piece of work. The hardanger along, which Nina, Stitching with a Smile, is doing. We have now had 1, 2, 3 episodes or parts, or what you want to call them. And yes, I am going wild, mad with colour, and I am having fun, too much fun possibly. So I've been getting myself into more trouble, but you'll see that. Well, I didn't just go looking for the Halloween cat. I did sort of a dive in my old whips, UFOs, old cross-stitch projects, which I've got a nice collection of those. And I picked, let's see, can we get it? Yes, these two musical silhouettes. And the only thing I need on this one is the harp strings, which isn't a lot. And I thought that was something that I could spend an afternoon on, except they're supposed to be long stitches, and then I am assuming it's couching. And I tried to do that, and I couldn't get the strings to be straight. They got crooked. And I tried making it with sort of not making the stitches just from there to there, but sort of making them several stitches, and that didn't look good either. And I've tried several different methods. I also just tried making them just from here to here, and no couching and no nothing. The problem with that is, well, actually I had intended these to be made into cushion covers for a friend, but that was ages ago. It was for a birthday present. She never knew about them. It was ages ago, and she has since acquired a husband and 2 small children, and I have no idea how the husband feels about this sort of stuff, and no idea about the small kids, what sort of havoc they can wreak, and I mean, she might not even be interested in them. So then I started thinking maybe I should just keep them myself. But the harp strings, if it's going to be a cushion, oh, the other one is all finished. And now I have washed it. I still haven't pressed it, but we'll get there. And I'm sort of also beginning to wonder, how am I going to use them? Am I going to make them into cushion covers, or should I make them into pictures? Because if I make them into pictures, then I would be able to get away with just plain long stitches and no fuss about couching them or anything. But if I'm using it as a cushion, then it's a bit more iffy. So I got rather disappointed because, hey, I'm almost done. It's not a lot of work left. But it seems absolutely impossible. So, do any of you have any suggestions how I could... They look pretty good together, don't they? About whether I should try to turn them into pictures or cushion covers, or maybe something that I haven't even considered. Wall space is at a premium here, so I'm not too hooked on the picture of getting them framed. But if anyone has any suggestion on what I could do with them and how I can solve the problem of the annoying harp strings, please, I'd like to hear from you very much, because hey, if I could get the harp strings done, I have a finished object, and then I might even be able to get 2 FFOs sort of relatively easily. So yeah. And all of this was actually, I had a bit of bad news for me, or at least news that wasn't necessarily bad, but it has consequences for me, which are not all that happy inducing. And that was actually one of the reasons why I started looking through my old whips, because I wanted to work on something that wasn't maybe quite as demanding as the toucans, and I just needed something so I could block out the world. And well, the musical piece sort of just made me even more in a glum mood. But one thing that I did do was I started looking through lots of my cross-stitch magazines and books, because I had also been getting inspired by some of you guys who are working on just patterned pieces, and with variegated colors, and I wanted to look if I could find anything, and I ended up finding one of my old, I think it's a Spanish magazine, and I found that pattern, and it's just one color, and I had lots of skeins of variegated DMC flosses, many of which I have just bought because they were on offer And well, some I did buy because I had a plan, and I think I've more or less abandoned that plan. And then I also have a nice stash of fabric scraps, remnants. And I found one that would be large enough. And so this happened. Now let's see. Yep, you can see the variegation. I'm not quite done yet, but I'm getting there. And it's been fun. And I have discovered that it isn't just as, I mean, just working with the variegator that changes color. You have to also think about when you then start on a new thread, and where do you where on the pattern do you start, and it's been a fun challenge. And now I have mad plans, because, well, I have, we're going to have to need, I have these blues, and I have some purples, and I have greens, and I have more greens. I do have a second one of those, and I have this fiery flamey one, and I have a dark pinky thing, and I have a light pinky thing, and I still have various scraps of fabric. So all of a sudden I am going to make a whole wide range of these. Do I know what I'm going to use them for? Nah. I have also, inspired by Arlene Cohen, been thinking of doing some where I flip it, where the parts that are stitched here remain unstitched, and instead the parts that are blank here will be stitched. I haven't made up my mind if I should then mark off the edge with backstitch, or if I should just do one row of cross stitches. And I have been considering how I could maybe convert it into black work, and maybe just some sort of satin stitch or something. So yeah, okay, suddenly there's this project going on which is going to involve multiple pieces, which I don't know how I'm going to use them. Again, wall space is at a premium here, so I can't just make any number of pictures or wall hangings. Yeah. Okay, mind you, I have to get this one finished first before it really becomes a problem, and maybe even I can push off decision time while I make a few more, but decision time will be coming at some point. Oh dear. But that is not the only bit of trouble I sort of got myself into. There's more coming up. Well, I was showing you all of the weird things I'd gotten up to, and there's a last thing. Last week I kept hoping that there would be another part in the Hardangerlong, because I really wanted to keep working on my already existing projects. Didn't want to start anything new. Well, the problem is I actually did want to start new things, but I was trying to keep away from it. But and then I did this very mad thing. I checked my library and the Danish library system, and I ended up borrowing this book, which is translated from English, and it's an Australian author, because I was feeling an itch to do some Hardanger. And I ended up, it's the, let's see, it's getting a bit on in the evening, so the lighting isn't all that well, but this is the whole thing, and it's actually the piece on the front cover. I wasn't really too keen on these flowers, and there was a piece of Hardanger fabric, green, and I had lots of white cotton, so this sort of happened. I am actually going to, I'm not sure about this bit. I might unpick it. And in fact, I might well find myself making other modifications to it, but I was in the mood for something new, so yes, yet another whip. Just what I need. I need another whip like I need a hole in my head. And those are the things that I have sort of been up to, working on. Now, I did want actually to start on a new cross-stitch project, but I managed to keep myself, apart from the red variegated thing, I have been keeping myself under control. In more or less a month, I will be going on holiday up to Finland, and I will be gone for 12 days, I think, and I don't think I'm going to take any of my current projects because, well, depending on how much work I get done on them between now and I have to leave, I won't have any active projects apart from the cranes, where I have enough work where it's sort of, I don't want to just take something with me which only has enough work for 2 or 3 days. then I would much rather take a new project, or possibly pick up an old whip, but we'll see about that. But I have been feeling sort of the urge to start a new project, and I actually have a pile of projects which I am itching to start. But me being me, I can't make up my mind. I have posted on Instagram and got a couple of comments. I actually discovered there was another kit which I hadn't posted on Instagram, but never mind. But I thought I would let you see them, and then maybe some of you have suggestions about what I should take with me, and I'll be sort of wibbling between now and then. And that weird noise you just heard was the cat capsizing something. I'm not really sure what he managed to do, but never mind. So anyway, this is the first of my possible projects. This is a smallish piece. Let's see if I can get into it. The fabric isn't larger than this. It's Aida, and these are the flosses. So this is sort of a medium-sized project. And then there's another medium-sized project, which is this Eva Rosenstein with 2 donkeys and 3, I'm not sure if they're duck or geese. And that is, these are the flosses. And this is the fabric, so it's somewhat larger, but it's not a massive thing. And there's lots of unstitched fabric in the picture. Then there is this one, which is one of the more likely candidates, at least now. This is actually the kit where it was Aida, but that's the piece of fabric that I have taken for my cranes. And then I found this grayish brownish linen, and this piece I think is about twice as large as what I need for it, but this is a large one. And this is all the gorgeousness which goes in for that. Then those pandas, another Eva Rosensten kit. It's about 50 by 60 centimeters, so it's also on the larger side, but again there is lots of empty space. And these are the flosses. This actually has the pictures. This is an old whip. I'm maybe around halfway done with it. So this is a possible candidate for the next thing I pick up. I also have this one, which is the companion piece, which I haven't started, and that isn't in the cards yet. The next one is going to be a bit tricky to show you because, well, I can start by showing you the floss. And yes, this is a rather different color scheme, and that is because this one is about 60 by 75 centimeters. And it may actually be, hang on, yes, if I use the fabric which came in here, then I'm actually going to be using using 3 strands of floss over 2. I will cover, this one hasn't got a photograph of what the finished thing looks like, but there is a drawing of it, and it's a scene of penguins. I'm not sure if they are king or emperor penguins, but it's one of those species. And then the one that I hadn't posted on Instagram, that's also a larger thing. And this is not quite as large in the fabric, but it is almost full coverage. And it's all these greys and browns, and will result in this gorgeous lynx. So those are the candidates. The probable one of these guys is going to be the next new start that I make, and very likely the project that I take with me for my holiday, once I decide which one it's going to be. And if any of you have any opinions on which one you maybe want to see, well, you can always leave a comment and say that you think I should tackle this, that or the other. Any help in making up my mind is more than welcome. And now I can see that the camera is asking for a break yet again. So I will stop for now, and then maybe, because the light is getting a bit iffy now, so maybe I'll continue this today, Saturday, the 20th of May. If not, then I'll continue recording tomorrow, Sunday, and then hopefully get everything uploaded and ship shape, so I can get it onto YouTube. So anyway, see you in a while in the edited version. Well, welcome back. It is Sunday now. I realized yesterday that it was 9-ish, so rather later than I thought, but that's one of the results of living where I live and the changing of seasons. The days are longer, or at least the daylight lasts longer. And I was about to embark on getting the last of the Know Your Needleworker tag questions done. Somebody reminded me on my previous video that I hadn't gotten into, hadn't answered the thing about what I do for a living. At the moment, I don't hold a job. I would like to be able to hold a job later on at some point in my life. I have become more and more aware of the fact that the likelihood of that happening is pretty slim. I did have a job over 10 years ago, and things happened and I quit, and I came here to Ærø, where my parents were, and I thought that all I needed was just a short break and then I'd be able to get back. Long story short, I have mental health issues, and they are serious enough that the likelihood that I will be able to hold a full-time job in the future is slim to none. I haven't given up hope that I might be able to have some sort of part-time job at some point, but if I look critically at how I cope with everyday life, yeah. So I'm fortunate enough to live in a country where, yes, we pay a lot of tax when we have jobs. Yes, I paid a nice sum of money. But the good thing is that if something happens, which means that you, for one reason or another, you actually aren't able to provide for yourself, well, then you get a pension. So yeah, I'm not an old age pensioner, but yes, I am living on a well, it isn't called a disability pension, but basically that's what it boils down to. And yeah, this wasn't how I envisioned my life. This wasn't why I went to university to study. But you can't decide everything that goes on in your life. I also, it's also been deemed serious enough that I actually have a person who comes once a week, just an hour, to help with whatever I might need help with. And about a year and a half ago, my aide had the, well, for her it was a happy news. She was going to move in with her boyfriend. The sad news for me was that her boyfriend doesn't live here. So she was moving. So I had her for about 7 years. So it was a bit tough getting another person, getting to know her. And then she unfortunately had to take sick leave for quite a long while. And I got someone else to tide me over. Then when my original, well, my new original aide came back, she had to go on not quite as many hours as she'd had before. And they ended up sort of sharing me. So it's been, H has been coming every other week and E has been coming every other week. And then a couple of weeks ago, E told me that, well, she had bought a house, not here, so she's moving. And because H can't have me on a full time, and also it hasn't worked optimally. It's been a bit too confusing having every other week with one and then every other week with the other. So I am looking at getting a new, probably being awarded a new aide sometime this summer. Someone who I've never met. They might shuffle around, so maybe I will be getting H full-time again, but that's not certain. And this is an example of a thing which for many people, well, I mean, it wouldn't be a huge influence in their life, but for me this is a huge thing. and that's sort of why I did my hermit crab thing, where I shut myself off from the outside world more or less and just sit at home and try to ignore the world outside. When I started doing both these Flosstube videos, but also when I started with this channel in the first place, I did want to, I had in mind to be open about my situation and my condition, because the whole taboo which still exists about mental health issues, maybe I could inspire someone or help someone by talking about my situation. I know there have been some things where I've watched videos other people have made, and the feeling of realizing you're not alone and there are people who can empathize and understand your situation. I know what that has felt for me, and if I could be able to do that to someone else, then that would be brilliant. So at some point I will be addressing these issues, not as a in a Flosstube video or as a Flosstube thing, just as another type of video on my channel. And if you want to watch those, then by all means, but I won't be upset if you say no, I don't want to listen to that sort of stuff. I'm just here for the cross stitch. That's perfectly fine as well. This does mean that when there are other larger things going on, it might knock me off my kilter enough that I have to take a break, or I'm unable to get my brain together enough to make another video. But I hope you guys can understand that. Right, on to more happier things. There is the whole triad of what's your favorite book, what's your favorite movie, what's your favorite TV series. Help, I'm supposed to just have one favorite? TV series is going to be very tough because I don't have a television. I haven't watched television for I don't know how long. But I think I'm going to go with two old series which I have the Sherlock Holmes with Jeremy Brett as Sherlock Holmes. I have the whole set. That's one. And then David Suchet, whatever, however you pronounce his name, as Poirot. those are going to be my two favorite TV shows, I think. Of course, there's all the Star Treks and Red Dwarf and stuff like that, but yeah. Movies, I've been thinking a bit about that, and I actually did a fun experiment a couple of weeks ago. Again, trying to cope with the news. So I actually borrowed from the library several of the films which I would have on my list. So I watched The Princess Bride and Singing in the Rain and The Guns of Navarone. I didn't get Harvey, but that might have been one as well. And I think of the lot, I will say The Guns of Navarone. However, the one movie I think which is going to knock it off the top position is The Muppets Christmas Carol. Because Muppets, Michael Caine, Christmas. Enough said. Books. Again, this is going to be a tough one. And also it depends very much on how I'm feeling. But there are a good deal of murder mystery series which I enjoy. Marjorie Ellingham writing about Campion. The Lord Peter Wimsey books by Dorothy L. Sayers. Yes, Agatha Christie. Brilliant for when I want to read something but my mind perhaps isn't working optimally. The Harry Potter books. The Brother Cadfael murder mysteries, Ellis Peters. Generally speaking, murder mysteries and fantasy. Those are my thing. And then the final question, what one word describes you best? Weird. Yeah. But maybe weird as in weird and wonderful. I hope I'm not being too sort of full of myself, but unusual, different, weird. Weird's a nice word. That I think takes care of the Know Your Needleworker tag. And now I'm going to have to give my camera a break again, and then I think it's going to be time for some introduction to travel in Denmark.